Have you ever felt like your mind has a mind of its own, racing, spiraling, never stopping? What if the peace you're chasing was never something to be found, but something to be forged? And what if ancient wisdom, buried in time, held the key to mastering the chaos within you? Your mind never rests. It jumps from one thought to the next, overthinking, replaying conversations from years ago, stressing over futures that haven't even arrived. Meanwhile, the world around you screams for your attention. Notifications buzz, deadlines loom, and voices pull you in all directions. It's overwhelming, and before long you find yourself mentally drained. You search for escape, somewhere, anywhere, to breathe. Maybe in wealth, maybe in success, in romantic connections or fleeting comforts. You tell yourself, once I have enough, then I'll be at peace. But here's the uncomfortable question. If everything you relied on disappeared overnight, would you still feel at peace? Or would it all come crashing down? The truth is hard to swallow. Peace isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you deliberately construct, like building muscle at the gym. Just as the body requires consistent effort, your mind needs training. Without intentional habits, you become trapped in your own mental prison. Stress, doubt, and fear become your jailers. But there's another path. Stoicism, a philosophy that has stood the test of time, offers not just ideas but tools, practical ones. It teaches you how to take control of what's in your hands, release what's not, and build an inner calm that can't be shaken by life's storms. In this video, you'll explore 7 timeless strategies the Stoics used to stay centered in chaos. Though written centuries ago, their wisdom is surprisingly relevant today, maybe even more so in our fast-paced world. And here's something worth remembering. You're not the only one who needs this. We all know someone silently struggling, someone worn thin by life. Share this with them. Sometimes a single idea seen at the right moment can shift everything. Now I want to hear from you. What's one thing, one habit, one thought, one moment that brings you peace when life feels like too much? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the lifeline someone else needs. Let's begin with the first of 7 Stoic tools for calm. 1. Control the first thought. Our minds are wired to react fast. A harsh comment, a disappointing email, a sudden failure. In the blink of an eye, emotions flare. Your chest tightens, your pulse races, and your mind starts spinning. But here's the truth most people miss. The first thought is automatic. The second thought, that's your choice, and that one choice can change everything. Now, let's move deeper into the second Stoic principle that helps you stay grounded. Even when the world feels like it's spinning out of control, we've just uncovered a powerful truth. Your second thought is your superpower. Now let's dive deeper into where true self-mastery actually begins. It doesn't start by ignoring emotions, pretending they don't exist, or forcing them down like a shaken soda can. No, true calm comes from shaping those emotions right at their root. It's not about suppression, it's about awareness and direction. If you can take charge of your first conscious thought right after that initial emotional spark, you can steer your mind. And when you steer your mind, you shape your life. But here's what most people overlook. Your thoughts don't just appear from nowhere. They're not random. They're echoes formed by past experiences, subconscious beliefs and deep emotional habits. Think about it. The moment something triggers you, a sarcastic comment, a long pause in a conversation, your brain doesn't wait. It races to a conclusion, drawing from memory, from instinct, from old wounds. This fast reaction, it's the work of the amygdala, the brain's built-in alarm system. It processes fear and stress, and it's lightning fast. The moment it senses a threat, whether it's a physical danger or just a cold message left on read, it hits the panic button. Your body floods with cortisol, your heart races, your muscles tighten. You're ready for battle, even if the battlefield is a group chat. But here's where Stoic wisdom shines through the fog. They knew what modern science now proves. You are not your first reaction. You don't have to believe the emotional reflex. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The real power doesn't lie in controlling what happens around you. It lies in how you frame what happens. In those first few seconds, right after a triggering moment, you arrive at a fork in the road. One path leads to impulsive reaction, driven by emotion. The other, pause, clarity, and control. The Stoics trained for this. They practiced the pause, a simple act, yet profound. And today, neuroscience backs it up. Pausing for even a few seconds creates space. It moves you from your emotional brain to your logical one. The mere act of labeling what you're feeling, I feel irritated or I feel anxious, creates a mental buffer between you and the emotion, and then a breath, deep, slow. This tells your nervous system, it's okay, you're safe. Cortisol drops. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for clear thinking, comes back online. In that calm space, ask yourself one powerful question. What's the most effective way to respond? This single question pulls you out of reaction mode and into conscious leadership of your emotions. And every time you do it, you rewire your brain. You strengthen the habit of self-command. So, what happens when the chaos doesn't stop? When the outside world keeps throwing stress your way? Let's move on to the next Stoic practice, one that teaches you how to anchor yourself internally even when everything around you feels out of control. So once you've taken that first pause and named your emotion, what's next? The real transformation begins when you shift from seeing events emotionally to seeing them objectively. Let's put this into a real-world example. Imagine this. You check your inbox and see a message that instantly makes your stomach drop. Maybe it's criticism from your boss. Maybe a client rejected something you poured your heart into, and before you even finish reading, your mind is already screaming, "This is unfair. They don't value me." But pause. What if, instead of letting that initial emotion spiral, you stop and look at the situation through a Stoic lens? Ask yourself calmly, what's actually in my control right now? Is this one email truly a reflection of your worth? Or is it just one moment, one challenge, in a much bigger story? And most importantly, what can I learn from this? The moment you ask those questions, something subtle but powerful happens. You take the emotional power away from the event and reclaim it for yourself. You move from reaction to response, from helplessness to clarity, from being at the mercy of circumstances to being their master. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's not just philosophy, it's a strategy. Every situation, no matter how frustrating, is a test of your discipline, a test of your ability to govern your own mind. And like any skill, mastering your first thought isn't a one-time achievement. It's daily training. Just like building strength in your body, building strength in your mind requires reps. Start small. Try catching just one reactive thought per day. Notice when you're about to snap back at someone, or when you feel the urge to complain, criticize, or catastrophize. Pause. Breathe. Choose. Use a simple internal phrase like pause, breathe, choose. Then reframe what you're feeling. Ask, how would a Stoic interpret this? With consistent practice, these tiny shifts compound. Your emotional reflexes begin to lose their grip. You're no longer dragged around by impulses. You begin to lead with intention. And the results? They're noticeable. Your mind becomes sturdier, like a tree that bends with the wind but never breaks. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. You don't just stay calm under pressure, you default to calm. Conversations flow more smoothly, setbacks lose their sting, and you stop burning energy on things that don't deserve it, redirecting that energy toward the things that do. Most people let their emotions run wild like untamed horses, but the Stoic? He trains his emotions like a warrior with a sword, disciplined, focused, and deliberate. So next time you feel that emotional spark flare up, just remember the first thought is instinct. The second thought, that's your strategy. Now, let's explore the next practice that will help you build even greater inner control, one that sharpens your attention and helps you remain centered no matter what distractions come your way. So, once you understand that your response is a choice and not a reflex, what comes next? It's time to act. Because clarity alone isn't enough. Action is what transforms knowledge into power. Let's move into the next strategy, one that cuts through overthinking like a blade through fog. It's a simple rule, but don't let that fool you. It's powerful. It's called the 2-minute rule. You've said it before. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll send the email later. I'll start working out next week. But tomorrow turns into next week. Next week becomes never. Tasks keep piling up, and with them the stress. You begin to drown, not in the difficulty of the work, but in the hesitation before it. Your mind becomes a noisy battleground filled with self-doubt, indecision, and endless what-ifs. Here's the truth. Procrastination rarely comes from laziness. It's almost always rooted in fear. Fear of failing, fear of getting it wrong, or just fear of discomfort. And like fire feeds on dry wood, fear feeds on inaction. The longer you wait, the louder it grows. But the Stoics were ahead of this. They knew something essential. Action kills anxiety. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must build your life action by action and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal." Not someday, not later, but now. Your mind doesn't crave perfection. It craves motion. It comes alive the moment you start moving. This is where the 2-minute rule becomes a game changer. Here's how it works. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now, immediately. If it's something bigger, just commit to doing it for 2 minutes. That's it. You're not promising to finish the whole task, just to begin. That small act is enough to shift your brain from hesitation to momentum, Because let's face it, the hardest part isn't finishing, it's starting. Imagine this. Your alarm goes off. Your instinct hits snooze, delay, avoid, but instead of lying there negotiating with yourself, you remember the rule. You sit up, place your feet on the floor, take one deep breath. 2 minutes in, you're moving, and suddenly it's not so hard anymore. That tiny decision broke the mental resistance. You're not stuck. You're in motion. This rule works everywhere. Want to read more? Just open the book and read one paragraph. Need to exercise? Do one push-up. Avoiding a tough conversation? Type the first sentence of that message. Why does this work? Psychology has the answer. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain hates unfinished tasks. Once you start something, your mind develops a natural desire to finish it. And that internal pressure fuels progress. So the next time your mind whispers, "Not now," challenge it with a simple question. Can I give this 2 minutes? You'll be surprised how often that's all it takes to get moving. Now that you've learned how to break inertia and take control of your actions, it's time to look at another Stoic strategy, one that reshapes how you handle distractions and reclaim your focus. So once you break inertia with just 2 minutes of action, something remarkable happens. Your brain stops resisting and momentum takes over. That's why a writer stuck in creative paralysis suddenly finds themselves flowing after typing just one sentence. The resistance doesn't vanish before you begin. It disappears because you begin. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once wrote, "While we wait for life, life passes." And that's exactly what overthinking is, waiting in disguise. You think you're preparing, when in reality, you're just postponing. The Stoics didn't waste energy obsessing over the perfect path. They acted calmly, deliberately, with what they had in the moment. Because they knew something modern neuroscience confirms: hesitation weakens you. Execution strengthens you. Here's why. When you hesitate, your brain slips into a loop of protection. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, gets bogged down with uncertainty. What if I mess this up? What if I'm not ready? What if I fail? These questions activate the amygdala, your emotional alarm system, which interprets your inaction as a threat. And what does it do? It sounds the panic alarm. Your heart beats faster, your breathing shortens, your palms may sweat. Suddenly, that simple task you were avoiding feels like climbing a mountain. But this is where the 2-minute rule slices through the fog. By taking even the smallest action, you shift your brain from an emotional state of hesitation into a rational state of engagement. And here's the kicker. Dopamine is released the moment you begin. That feel-good chemical gives you a small reward, reinforcing progress. The more you repeat this, the stronger your mental resilience becomes. It's not a motivational gimmick, it's brain chemistry, it's rewiring. Let's say you're dreading a report, a blog post, or even just replying to an email. Just write one sentence. 1. Not feeling like working out? Fine. Do 2 minutes. Some jumping jacks, a stretch, a single push-up. Looking at a messy room? Start with a corner. 2 minutes of tidying. Need to apologize or start a hard conversation? Write the first line of the message. Feeling anxious? Don't run from it. Sit down, close your eyes, and take deep, slow breaths. For just 2 minutes, you're not lying to yourself. You're training yourself. Each small act is a win, and those wins compound. The Stoics weren't obsessed with huge breakthroughs. They trusted steady discipline. One small movement forward beats 1,000 stalled intentions, as Epictetus said. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's the price of progress, quietly facing resistance and walking through it with simple, small steps. The real strength of this rule isn't just that it gets you moving, it's that it builds identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes action. Next, let's explore a practice that shifts your focus away from what you can't control and teaches you to channel energy into what truly matters. So now you know, the power of the 2-minute rule isn't just about productivity. It's about identity. Each small action reshapes the way you see yourself. That's the real shift. Every time you choose to act, even in the smallest way, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. You're not just ticking off a task, you're whispering to your brain, "This is who I am. I am someone who takes action. I don't freeze in hesitation. I control my mind, not the other way around." Picture someone who spent years saying, "I'm not a morning person." Every day they hit snooze. Every time they reinforce that belief. But then, one morning, they commit to just 2 minutes. They sit up, they stretch, maybe they drink a glass of water. That's it. Nothing heroic. But something inside them shifts. One morning becomes 2. 2 becomes 10. And before they know it, waking up early is no longer a battle. It's part of who they are. That's how identity is built, not through dramatic declarations, but through repeated quiet actions. Small efforts create momentum. Momentum reinforces identity. Identity becomes transformation. This is why even the tiniest step forward is infinitely more powerful than standing still. The moment you move, the weight of hesitation starts to dissolve. Your mind, once fogged with doubt, sharpens, becomes clear, focused. You stop overanalyzing, you stop second-guessing, you move. And when you move, everything changes. So here's your challenge for today. Pick one thing, just one, that you've been avoiding. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Block out the noise. Start. You'll be amazed. That thing you've been dreading won't feel as heavy anymore, because you don't need to conquer the whole mountain. Just take the first step. Remember, hesitation is the enemy of progress. Action is the cure. The next time you feel stuck, remind yourself, motion breeds clarity. Begin now and watch what follows. And with that, we move to the third Stoic strategy, one that tackles the invisible mental clutter that builds up and weighs you down daily. It's called the mental shelf. Your mind is like a storage room, but instead of a neatly labeled library, it often looks more like a messy attic. Scattered thoughts, emotional baggage, half-finished tasks, old regrets, future worries, they all pile up inside, layer by layer. You try to focus, but your mind feels heavy. You try to think clearly, but the noise is deafening. You wonder why. Your brain feels like it's sprinting all day, yet getting nowhere. The reason? You're carrying too much. Let's take a closer look at what's really cluttering your inner world and how the Stoics teach us to clear it out. Previously, we explored how small, deliberate actions can free you from hesitation. But even with movement, there's another silent enemy stealing your clarity: mental clutter. Just like a room filled with scattered furniture, unopened boxes and forgotten junk, your mind can become crowded with unprocessed thoughts. And when there's too much piled up, there's no space left to breathe, let alone think clearly. Your brain, like that overstuffed room, has limited cognitive bandwidth. The more you hoard mentally, the less clarity you have. A study from neuroscientists at Princeton University proved this. Both physical and mental clutter compete for your attention, leaving you distracted, mentally foggy, and overwhelmed. That's why unfinished tasks keep nagging at you, why random thoughts interrupt your focus, why overthinking can leave you feeling exhausted before you've even started anything. But the Stoics saw this long before neuroscience confirmed it. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And what's one of the biggest ways we waste time? Holding on to things mentally, regrets, worries, decisions that we should have released long ago. Think about it. You wake up and instantly your mind starts racing. Deadlines, a message you forgot to reply to, that awkward conversation from on yesterday, that meeting you're dreading later. Before your feet even touch the floor, you're carrying a full mental load. And when you finally sit down to work, your thoughts are scattered in 10 different directions. Focus? Nearly impossible. But what if you didn't have to carry it all? What if there was a mental shelf, a place to store, sort, and release those swirling thoughts? That's where the practice comes in. Whenever something is bothering you, don't keep it in your head. Write it down. The simple act of transferring your thoughts from mind to paper creates space. It externalizes the emotion. That worry or stress is no longer a vague, heavy cloud. It becomes something separate, visible, and manageable. And this isn't just Stoic wisdom, it's supported by modern science. A study published in Psychological Science found that writing down your worries and physically discarding the paper significantly reduced stress levels. Why? Because it tricks your brain into believing that the problem has been dealt with. You've created mental distance. You've lightened the load. Picture this. You're overwhelmed. Emails, texts, meetings, everything's coming at you at once. You try to juggle tasks, but your brain keeps jumping from one thing to another. You're not just busy, you're scattered. So, what's the solution? How do you organize the chaos within? In the next section, we'll walk through exactly how to apply the mental shelf method and discover how a few small habits can restore your mental focus, reduce stress, and help you reclaim control over your inner world in the last section. We uncovered the mental weight we carry when we don't offload our thoughts. But once you understand that your brain, like any space, needs order to function, the next step becomes clear. It's time to clear the clutter. Imagine this. You're sitting down to work, but your brain feels like a browser with 30 tabs open. You don't know where to begin. Everything feels urgent. Instead of forcing yourself to push through that mental noise, stop for just 2 minutes. Use that time to unload everything crowding your mind. Grab a notebook or open a blank document. Write down every task, every worry, every thought that keeps us looping in the background. Don't filter, don't judge. Just get it all out. Then, go through the list and sort each item into one of 3 buckets: do, delay, or discard. First, look at what needs your attention now. If a task takes only a few minutes, knock it out immediately. Clear that mental weight. Second, if it requires more time or planning, schedule it. Give it a slot in your calendar. That way, It's no longer floating endlessly in your head. And third, if it's something beyond your control, something you keep thinking about but serves no real purpose, let it go. Cross it out. Release it. By doing this, you free up precious mental energy. Your brain can now breathe again, finally, able to focus on what truly matters. Now ask yourself, how often do you find your mind replaying old conversations? That awkward moment in a meeting, that argument from last week, that mistake from months or even years ago. You revisit them, hoping that maybe, just maybe, if you dissect them one more time, the outcome will somehow change. But it never does. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Replaying the past doesn't fix it. All it does is clutter your present. The better path? Extract the lesson, carry the wisdom, and move forward with clarity. This principle doesn't apply only to the past, it's also the answer to future anxiety. How often do we stress over events that haven't even happened yet? A meeting next week, a financial worry 6 months from now, a worst-case scenario that lives only in your imagination. Your brain races, burning fuel on possibilities that may never come to pass. But the Stoics had a practical solution. Prepare without obsessing. Take one small proactive step forward. Then let go of what you cannot control. Because when the outcome isn't in your hands, worrying isn't preparation, it's waste. And that's why so many high performers, athletes, entrepreneurs, creatives, swear by one deceptively simple practice: daily journaling. Not to record their day like a diary, but to unload, to reflect, to regain clarity. This wasn't just a modern productivity hack. The Stoics were doing this centuries ago. Philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca made reflection a core part of their routine. Each night they'd pause and review, what did I think today? What did I do? What could I have done better? In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how you can apply this same nightly ritual to sharpen your awareness, release stress, and grow stronger. One day at a time. In the previous section, we talked about journaling, not to dwell on thoughts, but to release them. Because when your mind is full, your focus fractures. Now let's go deeper into how you can clear that internal clutter and reclaim calm. You don't need an hour. You don't even need 20 minutes. Just 5 will do. Take a moment. Sit down, grab a pen and paper, or open a blank note. And simply write down everything that's swirling in your head. Every task, every worry, every lingering thought. Pour it out. No need to organize it yet. Don't overthink it. Just let it spill. Now step back and sort. Is there something you can take action on today? Put it on your to-do list. Is there something that can wait? Schedule it or push it to another day. Is there something that's out of your hands, something that's just noise? Let it go. Think of your mind like a glass of water. Every thought, every concern, every unfinished item adds another drop. And when the glass overflows, you can't think clearly, you can't focus, you can't function at your best. But every time you unload, whether it's through writing, quiet reflection, or even a deep breath, you empty a bit of that glass. You create mental space, you regain clarity, you regain control. Try it right now. Seriously, grab something to write with and offload your mind. Don't judge what shows up, just write. Then look at what you've written and ask, what can I do about this? What can I set aside? and what no longer deserves space in my head. You'll be amazed by how much lighter you feel. A cluttered mind is a restless one, but a clear mind, that's power. If peace is your goal, stop hoarding every passing thought. Use your mental shelf. Store what matters. Clear out what doesn't. Free your mind to focus on what's truly important, and when your mind feels heavy again, and it will, don't carry it longer than you need to. Put it down, sort it, reset. Now that you've lightened the mental load, it's time for the next step, perspective. Because not everything that feels urgent is truly important. Let's say something goes wrong. A sharp email, a heated argument, or a sudden change in plans. Instantly, your emotions flare. Your heart races. Your mind zooms in on the problem, and suddenly it feels like the world has shrunk to this one issue. But what if, instead of reacting, you hit pause and ask one simple question? Will this still matter in 24 hours, in a week, in a year? That one question can shift everything. Perspective isn't about minimizing problems. It's about right-sizing them. What feels overwhelming now will often feel insignificant with time. But in the moment, emotions distort reality. They convince you that this inconvenience is a disaster. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength doesn't come from controlling every situation. It comes from zooming out, refusing to let temporary emotions dictate long-term reactions. Up next, let's explore exactly how the 24-hour perspective can become your mental armor, helping you move through chaos with calm, clarity, and control. Earlier, we uncovered how zooming out, asking, "Will this matter in 24 hours?" can instantly shift your emotional state. Now let's bring that idea into real life. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic. You're already running late for an important meeting. Every red light feels like the universe is mocking you. Your mind kicks into overdrive. What if I miss something crucial? What if my boss thinks I'm unreliable? You grip the steering wheel tighter, your shoulders tense. You feel the heat rise, but pause. Breathe. Ask yourself one powerful question. In 24 hours, will this still matter? Will it have any real impact on your life tomorrow? Will anyone even remember? Chances are, probably not. Yet look at how much mental energy just got drained. How much stress was spent on something that, in the grand scheme of things, means so little. And this doesn't just apply to traffic, it applies to almost everything. A rude comment from a stranger, a mistake you made at work, an unexpected delay or cancellation. Your first instinct is to panic, to overthink, to react. But the truth? Most of these moments are like passing clouds. They drift away quicker than we expect. The real problem isn't the event itself. It's the importance we assign to it. Learning to step back, to view situations through a wider lens, gives you power. And this isn't just philosophy, it's science. Neuroscientists have discovered that emotional reactions, like anger or anxiety, typically last only about 90 seconds. After that, they fade unless we choose to keep them alive. By replaying the moment, analyzing it, feeding it with what ifs, we're the ones keeping the flame burning. But what happens if we don't feed it? If we just let the emotion pass, if we breathe, pause, and shift our attention, those feelings begin to dissolve. This is the magic of perspective. It interrupts the emotional loop. It gives you room to respond instead of react. One practical way to do this? The 24-hour rule. When something upsets you, don't reply right away. Don't react immediately. Instead, wait. Give yourself 24 hours before responding to that email, making that phone call, or acting on that emotion. Why? Because time reveals truth. What seemed like an attack today may feel harmless tomorrow. The argument that felt earth-shattering, it may seem petty in hindsight. This isn't about avoiding responsibility or ignoring real problems. Some things do matter beyond today, but even those deserve a thoughtful, measured response, not an impulsive one. The 24-hour pause helps you separate what truly needs action from what simply needs space. Think back. When was the last time you reacted in the heat of the moment? Maybe you fired off a message you regretted. Maybe you snapped at someone you care about. Now ask yourself, if you had waited a day, would you have acted the same? Most likely not. In the next section, we'll explore a Stoic practice that turns this awareness into wisdom, teaching you how to prepare for the worst, not to live in fear, but to gain the strength to face anything with calm and clarity. In the last section, we saw how time grants us clarity, how stepping back from a heated moment can often dissolve the intensity of our emotions. Now let's look at how the Stoics turned that understanding into daily practice. Because time doesn't just bring calm, it filters emotion, sharpens perspective, and most importantly, prevents regret. The Stoics understood this deeply. They constantly reminded themselves of one powerful truth: impermanence. Everything changes. Nothing lasts forever, not the highs and certainly not the lows. Epictetus gave a timeless piece of advice. When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. That's a critical distinction. Acceptance isn't giving up. It isn't passive. It's power. It's choosing how much space a problem gets to occupy in your mind. Let's bring it home. Think about the biggest stressor in your life right now. Something that's been bothering you, keeping you up at night. Now ask yourself, will this still matter in 24 hours? Will it matter in a month? In a year? Will I even remember it 5 years from now? If the answer is no, then why are you sacrificing your peace for it? If the answer is yes, then how can you face it? Not with panic, but with strategy. That's the Stoic way. And that's also why some of the most successful people in the world, leaders, elite athletes, top performers, train themselves to think long-term. They don't crumble over minor setbacks. They don't act on every fleeting emotion. They zoom out. They focus on the bigger picture. You can try this today. The next time something bothers you, a rude message, a mistake at work, a delayed plan, don't react right away. Pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, will this still matter tomorrow? If not, let it go. If yes, respond with logic, not impulse. You'll be surprised how much of your stress doesn't come from real problems, but from how you interpret them in the moment. Because here's the truth. A calm mind doesn't mean a life without difficulties. It means mastering the way you perceive them. It means learning to see beyond the moment, to widen the frame when the picture feels overwhelming, so the next time you feel tension rising, step back, zoom out. The problem may not be as big as it first appears. And speaking of power, let's talk about one of the most underrated forms of strength in our world today: silence. Because while the modern world praises those who talk the loudest, those who shout first, and those who always have something to say, the strongest minds don't rush to speak. In the next section, we'll uncover why silence isn't weakness, but a form of self-mastery that commands respect without saying a word. In the last section, we saw that silence isn't weakness, it's strength under control. And now we'll explore why the ability to stay quiet in the noise of the world may be one of the most powerful disciplines of all. Because silence doesn't mean absence, it means presence, refined, intentional, and potent. The Stoics understood this at a profound level. To them, silence wasn't just restraint, it was command. Imagine a heated argument. One person is shouting, their voice rising with every word, desperately trying to win by volume. Their emotions are running wild. Their words come fast, sharp, and uncontrolled. Across from them is someone else, calm, composed, saying nothing, simply listening. With each passing second, the louder person looks more unstable. And the one who holds their silence, they gain presence. Their stillness becomes power. That's the silent strength the Stoics revered. Silence shifts control. It unsettles chaos. It speaks without speaking. Seneca once wrote, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." That wisdom rings louder today than ever before. In every interaction, you have a choice. React immediately or pause, observe, and respond with intention. Those who speak without thinking often give away their strength. But those who master silence, they command the room. Psychologists call this the silent response technique, deliberately holding back words to guide behavior. In negotiations, this tactic gives the silent person an edge. Research shows that the moment one person speaks, the other instinctively wants to fill the space. But the one who resists that urge, the one who sits in the silence, gains control. Picture this. You're in a meeting. A colleague unexpectedly criticizes your work in front of the entire team. Your instinct? Defend yourself. Jump in. Explain. Prove them wrong, but instead you pause. You let their words settle in the room like dust, hanging in still air. Suddenly, the energy shifts. The silence becomes heavy. The critic begins to feel the weight of their own words. Then, when you do choose to speak, your voice cuts through with clarity, calm, and force. That's the power of silence. It makes people listen. And this principle goes far beyond conflict. In everyday life, unnecessary talking waters down your presence. People who speak constantly often lose their influence, not because they're unkind, but because their words are scattered. The Stoics practiced intentional speech. They believed in speaking only when words served a purpose. As Epictetus reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. And it's not just a philosophical idea, it's biological too. Silence isn't just about communication, it's about mental clarity. In today's world filled with pings, messages, endless scrolling, nonstop conversation, silence has become rare. But within those rare moments of stillness lies something priceless: clarity. Modern neuroscience has revealed that silence activates what's called the default mode network, a key region in the brain linked to creativity, memory, and deep reflection. In the next section, we'll uncover exactly how creating intentional silence each day can unlock sharper thinking, calmer emotions, and a stronger, more centered self. As we just explored, silence isn't emptiness, it's a gateway to clarity. And when you strip away the noise, your thoughts begin to settle. What's left is something powerful, the space to think, reflect, and truly see. This happens because silence activates the parts of your brain responsible for introspection and creativity. That's why your best ideas often show up not in meetings or crowded rooms, but in the quiet moments during a walk, a shower, or when you're simply alone with your thoughts. The external world fades, and your inner voice finally has room to speak. But here's the challenge. Silence also makes us uncomfortable. Think about how often you instinctively reach for your phone the moment you're bored. How quickly you turn on music, scroll social media, or fill silence with conversation. Why do we do that? Because silence reveals what we've been avoiding. It pulls us inward into confrontation with our own thoughts. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. Discomfort, after all, is the doorway to growth. If you can sit with yourself just for a few minutes a day, you begin to sharpen something deeper than just focus. You begin to reclaim control over your own mind. This is why some of the greatest minds in history made silence a ritual. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, routinely withdrew into solitude, not to escape his duties, but to think clearly, free from outside influence. Centuries later, Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful investors, does something similar. He spends hours each day in uninterrupted quiet, reflecting, analyzing, making decisions that shape empires not in chaos, but in calm. Truly powerful people don't chase constant stimulation. They protect their peace because they know that's where insight lives. Here's something you can try. The next time someone speaks to you, especially in a tense moment, resist the urge to respond right away. Pause. Observe. Let silence fill the space. Watch what happens. The conversation shifts. The other person often reveals more than they intended. They become slightly uncomfortable. And in that stillness, you gain control. The one who waits sets the rhythm. Now, take it even further. Build in a moment of deliberate silence each day. Just 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no input. Just sit and be still. Watch your thoughts drift. Notice your mind resisting the quiet. You'll feel the pull to distract yourself, and that's the exact edge where self-discipline begins. Because silence isn't just peaceful. It's a tool, a weapon, a strategy. Those who wield it wisely speak less, think deeper, and command attention without needing to fight for it. So, the next time you feel the urge to blurt out a reply, fill the gap, or react on impulse, pause. Let silence do the work. It often says more than words ever could. Now, let's shift gears from silence to something equally transformative: gratitude. In the next section, you'll discover a simple 3-point practice that rewires your focus and resets your mindset before the day even begins. After embracing the power of silence, we now turn inward once more to shift the lens through which we view our lives. Because the way you begin your morning sets the emotional tone for your entire day. And unfortunately, most of us start in the wrong direction. You wake up, and before you've even left bed, your mind is already scanning for problems. What's missing? What went wrong yesterday? What could go wrong today? This isn't your fault. It's biology. The human brain is wired to detect threats. It evolved to focus on what's lacking, not what's already there. In ancient times, this kept us alive. But in modern life, this instinct becomes a mental trap because a restless mind, it never finds peace. But a mind trained in gratitude, that mind becomes steady, strong, unshakable. Gratitude isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about teaching your brain to see things clearly, to notice what's already good amidst the noise. The Stoics understood this long before modern science did. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." That one line shifts everything. Wealth, as the Stoics saw it, was never just about possessions. It was about perspective. The person who constantly chases more, who believes peace lies just beyond the next achievement, is always left feeling empty. But the one who practices gratitude, no matter their situation, feels full, even in scarcity. And science backs this up. Neuroscientists have found that gratitude literally rewires your brain when you intentionally focus on what you're thankful for. Your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals responsible for joy, calm, and contentment. Over time, this doesn't just lift your mood, it builds mental strength. You become more resilient, more grounded, less reactive to stress, less shaken by negativity. You don't just feel better, you think better. But here's the truth. Gratitude doesn't come naturally. You have to train it, just like you would train a muscle. And one of the fastest, most effective ways to do this is through a practice called the 3-point gratitude shift. This simple yet powerful habit breaks the brain's default negativity loop and forces you to focus on what truly matters. It begins with the first point, gratitude for what you already have. It seems obvious, but it's where most people get stuck. They believe gratitude requires something grand, an award, a promotion, a breakthrough. But real gratitude begins with the basics, the breath in your lungs, the meal on your table, the roof over your head, the people in your life who bring you love, support, and meaning. These are the things we so often overlook until they're gone. Ask yourself, if tomorrow I woke up with only what I appreciated today, what would be left? Consider someone recovering from illness. To them, simply standing without pain or eating without effort feels like a miracle. And yet, those are the exact things we take for granted every single day. In the next section, we'll explore the second point of the gratitude shift, how to transform even life's challenges into something worth appreciating in the last part. We explored the first point of the gratitude shift, learning to truly appreciate what you already have. Now, let's take it further into the kinds of gratitude that require deeper reflection and greater perspective. Think of someone who's just recovered from a serious illness. Before, they may have taken their health for granted, but now, every deep breath feels like a blessing. Every pain-free step feels like a miracle. Their life hasn't changed, but their awareness has. You don't have to wait for a loss to learn this lesson. You can choose right now to view your life with renewed eyes. That brings us to the second point, gratitude for what you no longer have. This is where real perspective begins to shift. Think about a past struggle, a painful memory, a setback that once felt unbearable. Maybe it was a failure, a breakup, a rejection. At the time, It may have felt like your world was falling apart, but look at you now. You survived. You learned. You grew stronger. Those moments didn't just pass. They shaped you. The Stoics embraced this mindset completely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." They didn't resent obstacles. They welcomed them, because to them, obstacles weren't interruptions. They were instruction. Imagine someone who loses a job they thought was everything. In the moment, it feels like the end. Panic, doubt, shame. But a few months later, they discover something better, an opportunity that aligns with their true path. Looking back, they might even feel thankful for that loss, because without it, they would still be stuck in a place they had outgrown. Many of the things we're afraid to lose, they're actually redirections in disguise. And that brings us to the third point of the gratitude shift. Gratitude for what is yet to come. This is where gratitude becomes a mindset of power. It's not about blind optimism. It's not about pretending everything will be perfect. It's about trusting your resilience. It's choosing to be grateful for the future, not because you know what will happen, but because you know you'll be ready for it. A Stoic doesn't sit back and wait for happiness to arrive. They decide, whatever comes, I will make use of it. That's more than gratitude. That's strength. Think of an elite athlete preparing for competition. They don't only train for victory, they prepare for injuries, mistakes, losses. They anticipate setbacks, but they don't fear them. They welcome the challenge. Because they know, whether in triumph or failure, they'll grow either way. And that's the Stoic mindset. When you trust that whatever happens will ultimately serve your growth, you eliminate fear. You stop resisting life and start using it. Every twist, every test, every unknown becomes something you can shape into meaning. So, now the question becomes, how do you carry this mindset with you, especially when emotions take over? In the next section, we'll explore how to create emotional distance so you can master your reactions, remain centered under pressure, and live with calm intention no matter what life throws your way. In the last section, we explored the power of forward-looking gratitude, the kind that trusts you'll grow no matter what comes. Now, let's see what it actually looks like when you apply that mindset in your everyday life. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, horns blaring, lights turning red again and again. It's annoying. But instead of spiraling into frustration, what if you paused and shifted perspective? What if, in that very moment, you reminded yourself, I have a car, I have somewhere to go, I have time to think. Now, let's say you receive criticism at work. It stings. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself or shut down. But what if you saw it differently? What if you viewed it as fuel, a chance to grow, to sharpen, to evolve? Or imagine losing something you thought you couldn't live without. A job, an opportunity, a relationship. At first, it feels like everything is falling apart. But what if you trusted that something better, something more aligned with your path, was waiting on the other side? This way of thinking isn't denial. It's not toxic positivity. It's mental conditioning. It's the decision to choose strength over self-pity, power over paralysis. And this isn't just a philosophical idea. It's backed by science. Studies show that people who practice daily gratitude sleep better, experience lower levels of anxiety, and build deeper, more fulfilling relationships. But beyond the science, there is something even more important: Gratitude rewires how you see life. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to feel content. You stop needing everything to go right just to feel okay. You begin to understand that peace is not found in your circumstances. It's built within them. So here's something simple you can try tonight, right before you go to sleep. Grab a pen or open your notes and write down 3 things. One thing you have right now that you're grateful for. One past struggle that made you stronger. One thing you're thankful for in advance, even if it hasn't happened yet. Do this for 1 week, just 7 days, and pay attention to how it changes the way you think, the way you feel, the way you respond. Because a person who trains their gratitude muscle doesn't just walk lighter, they walk stronger. They stop feeling like life is happening to them and start realizing life is happening for them. Every challenge, every loss, every success, it's all part of a larger design. Gratitude isn't about ignoring pain. It's about seeing that everything, yes, everything, can serve you if you choose to make it so. And that leads us into one of the most powerful Stoic mindsets of all. Amor fati. Things won't always go the way you planned. You'll lose jobs. Relationships will end. Opportunities will vanish. And your first reaction? Resistance. Why is this happening? This isn't fair. It wasn't supposed to be this way. You feel stuck, frustrated, powerless. But what if, just for a moment, you stopped fighting reality? What if instead of resisting it, you embraced it? In the next section, we'll dive deeper into this bold Stoic idea, amor fati, the art of not just accepting what happens, but learning to love it. Previously, we introduced amor fati, the Stoic art of loving everything that happens. Now, let's take a closer look at what it really means to embody that mindset, not just in words, but in how you live, because this isn't about resignation. It's about ownership, taking whatever life throws at you and turning it into fuel. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche described amor fati as not simply enduring what is necessary, but loving it. That's a radical shift. And it's not weakness, it's power. It's the strength to turn anything, good or bad, into an advantage. Picture a fire. Throw logs at it. Throw scraps of paper, dry leaves, even broken pieces of furniture. Does the fire shrink? No. It grows. It feeds on the chaos. It transforms whatever enters its path into heat, energy, momentum. That's the Stoic approach to life. When you live by amor fati, you become like that fire, lost in opportunity. Good. Now there's room for something better. Someone betrayed you? Good. Now you finally see their true character. Failed at something important? Good. Now you've learned a lesson success never could have taught you. This isn't blind optimism. It's not pretending bad things don't happen. It's strategy, reclaiming power through perspective. The Stoics saw life as a battlefield. You don't get to choose the weather. You don't control the terrain. You don't pick your opponent's weapons. But you do control one thing, your response. And the most powerful response? To love what happens, not just accept it, love it. Modern psychology calls this cognitive reframing, the ability to shift your perspective and interpret events in ways that empower rather than defeat you. And science backs it up. Research shows that people who master this mindset experience lower stress levels, faster recovery from setbacks, greater emotional resilience. In simple terms, they waste less time wishing things were different and focus instead on using what is. Look at history's greatest achievers and you'll see amor fati in action. When Thomas Edison's lab burned to the ground in 1914, he didn't curse fate. He didn't fall into despair. He said, "Thank God all our mistakes were burned up. Now we can start fresh." Most people would have seen disaster. He saw opportunity. Now, think about your own life. Remember a time when something didn't go the way you planned. At the time, it felt like the end, like everything was falling apart. But now looking back, wasn't that moment necessary? Didn't it lead you somewhere better? Didn't it force you to evolve? Now imagine this. What if you didn't have to wait for hindsight? What if the moment something went wrong, you immediately said, "Good, this will serve me"? In the Hide, next section, we'll break down how to train this exact reflex, how to build the mental muscle that turns every setback into strength the moment it hits. So what if you didn't wait for hindsight? What if, in the exact moment something went wrong, you trained your mind to say, "Good, this will make me stronger"? Think about how unshakable you'd become, but let's be honest, this isn't easy. Amor fati goes against every natural instinct. The default reaction is to resist, to complain, to wish things were different. It's far more comfortable to ask, "Why me?" than it is to ask, "How can I grow from this?" That's why amor fati requires training. It's a discipline, a practice of catching yourself in the moment when the frustration is fresh and raw. That split second when your emotions rise, when your inner voice begins to whine or blame, that's your window. That's when you interrupt the old pattern. That's when you shift. Try this. The next time something doesn't go your way, big or small, pause. Don't react. Don't rush to fix or complain. Instead, ask, "How can I use this? What lesson is hiding in this? How could this make me better?" You won't always get an immediate answer. Sometimes the meaning won't be clear at all, and it may not feel good right away. But trust the process. Because over time, these small shifts rewire your brain. They form a new reflex, one that turns frustration into fuel, setbacks into stepping stones. Look at Marcus Aurelius. He didn't rule during peaceful times. He faced plagues, political chaos, betrayal, even war. Every day brought new hardship, but he never wished for an easier path. He only sought the strength to walk the one he was given. His entire philosophy rested on one truth. We don't control what happens. We control how we respond. So here's a challenge for you. Just for the next 24 hours, no complaining, no wishing. Things were different. No resisting reality. Whatever happens, meet it head on. Embrace it, not with gritted teeth, but with curiosity and courage. Ask, "How can I use this?" This isn't just a mindset shift. It's a way of being, a way to stop fighting the past, to stop fearing the future, and to meet life exactly as it is. Then turn it into something meaningful. Love your fate. Own your fate. Amor fati. Your mind is the battlefield. Every single day you face pressure, noise, distractions, expectations. You're pulled in every direction by stress, emotion, fear. But now you have tools. You've walked through 7 Stoic strategies designed to bring you back to center. You've learned how to stop reacting and start responding, how to break through hesitation and take bold action, how to declutter your mind, shift your perspective, and use silence as a source of strength. You've practiced gratitude, seen how it rewires your perception. And finally, you've discovered how amor fati transforms every challenge into an opportunity. But remember this, knowledge is nothing without action. Insight without practice is just theory. So in the final part, let's bring everything together and explore how to turn these Stoic strategies into lasting habits that shape not just how you think, but how you live.